it's Rebecca here from Precious Pages Papercraft, and today I'm designing a layout for mycreativescrapbook.com using their September main kit. And this month the kit is all summery and fun. It features Pretty Little Studio Hey Summer collection. So as well as getting loads of papers, which you can see on screen here, we also get a couple of die cut packs. You get the beach bits and the salt air, which is the little wordy pack you can see here. We also get the cut apart word flags, and we also get a stencil from Vicky Bootin and Simple Stories foam stickers from their retro summer collection. So loads of goodies that all match really nicely. And I'm going to get going straight away with my layout. I've got 4 smaller photos this time. They are 2 by 2 inches, and I was going to initially try and get all 4 on the page, but I realised that it probably would have been a bit much for me. I'm used to scrapping just 1 photo, so lately I've been trying to do a bit more sort of multi-photo scrapping because I do take so many photos, but I felt like 4 was just a little bit of a push for me. So I've got my 3 photos here. I'm arranging them vertically, I had to think then, vertically down the page, and I'm going to sort of stick those together like a film strip and embellish around them. So I've pulled out a few florals there and a few of the little die cuts we get, and just had a play, and I liked how that was looking, but I wanted to get something behind the photos. So I've reached for this paper here. It's called Beach Blanket. It's quite apt actually, because it does actually match my fleecy beach blanket, which is quite interesting. But I'm going to cut this sheet apart so I've got all the coloured strips, and then I'm going to arrange them behind my photos. Now I love a stripy paper, and this isn't really stripy, this one. It's more kind of like cross hatches or chevrons going sort of in the corners of the pages, but to me it read as a stripy paper, and I love to cut them apart and distress them and then sort of build them back together. So you can see here I've got all the different colours. I think I left a couple of colours out just purely because they didn't match any of the colours that I already had on the page. And I'm going to have a play in a minute and decide how I want those strips to sit. But before I do that, because I like how everything is looking on the page, I want to get things stuck together so that I can move them on and off and then kind of audition those strips behind everything without nudging things out of place. There's nothing more frustrating than having everything in place on your page and then sort of fiddling with some bits and knocking everything out of the way. So when I do create like this and I chuck loads on the page and I love how it looks, I do try and pause and get as much stuck down together as I can, just to make life a little bit easier. And it also helps if you're adding mixed media as well, because then you can sort of do a little bit of mixed media, put things back on the page and see how the mixed media looks, and then take it back off, and without moving loads of different bits you can just sort of move 1 or 2 larger areas. So definitely advise, if you can, sticking as you go. I want to add a little bit of a solid colour behind my photo, so I've just got a sheet of basil cardstock here, and it might look weird that I'm cutting from the middle of the page, but I really love this colour and I quite often use it for staging with my photos when I've created a layout. But I also wanted to leave the outside edge in case I ever want to use that sheet as a border or a frame on a layout. It's a really lovely colour that works with so many different collections, so I'm very hesitant to cut into the edge of it in case I want to use it, so that's why I'm taking from the middle there. And I love how that looks now, and I feel like that sort of turquoisey greeny colour really brings out the colours in the collection and my photos. And the photos are just of my little boy recently on the beach. We've just come back from our summer holiday, and he was just sitting just at the edge of the beach where the waves are, waiting for the waves to come in and get him. And it was just really cute. He was having so much fun, which you'll see when I use my title in a minute. I'm going to go with so fun. But he was loving life, just waiting for the waves to get him and feeling them coming up all around him. He was just in his element. So I love these little photos. So I've got 3 of those. I've got a couple of the beach die cuts that I've used there. I've got Seaside and Love This, and I thought they sat really nicely in amongst the photos there. over on the right hand side, and then I've got my little beach brolly and crab over on the left that kind of sat in the same position, so I thought that balanced it out quite nicely. And then I've just added some florals top and bottom. Now those florals have been fussy cut from one of the patterned papers. I think it was called Beach Dress. As soon as I opened the collection and saw that, I knew I wanted to use it for embellishing. So I got my scissors out and I fussy cut the entire 12 by 12 sheet in one sitting. So I've now got a whole stash of florals to embellish with. I love a paper that gives you that option, just to fussy cut and really stretch the collection. So I always go for floral papers. They always get fussy cut with me. So yeah, it's going to be, you'll see those on sort of every layout I create with this kit, which is fantastic because it means that the collection goes a little bit further. So now I've got everything else sort of stuck in place, I can have a play with these strips of patterned paper. And I wasn't initially sure how I wanted them to sit. Did I want them all to the right, or did I want a little bit peeking out to the left? Did I want them cut at angles like they initially were when I cut them from the sheet? Or did I want to turn them into fishtail banners? Did I want fishtail banners on both sides, or did I want just those on the right hand side and a flat edge on the left? So it was a little bit of playing, which obviously because I'd stuck everything else together, it was easy to do because I could just lift everything on and off the page. But you'll see here, I've gone for the fishtail banners over on the right hand side, and I just keep using my hand to block off the left hand side so that I could see sort of how I wanted things to sit and how it would look if I was to chop those left hand sides off. But I kind of know that I'm happy with the right hand side, so I've just added a strip of tape just where underneath where my photos will sit, so you can't see it, but it holds those bits in place so they stop moving around. And then I can come in with some bits and see what I want to add. Now I loved this title, So Fun, from the Simple Stories foam stickers, but it was quite large and I was really struggling to fit it in. And I didn't want to give up because, like I said, my little boy was having so much fun in the photos. I wanted that to be my title. So I have to kind of persevere and try and make it work. Now those bottom two strips of coloured paper, they weren't big enough to come out from either side of my photos. It was right in the corner of the pattern paper when I cut those out. So I've had to chop them in half so that I've got a gap behind my photo, and then I can bring in the bit I've chopped off over on the left. It does mean I end up with a little bit of a gap, you'll see at the bottom of my photo strip there, but I'm going to fill that in with some flowers, so that's okay. And I'm loving how this is looking so far. All these lovely bright colours. They match my little boy's swimsuit as well. He's got a two-piece Super Mario set this year. He's really funny about having skin exposed. He doesn't like to go shirtless on the beach. So we always have to buy him sort of a shirt and shorts set. And this year he's got Super Mario. And the colours worked really well with this main kit this month. So I was really happy about that. So I've pulled in lots of colours and I'm keeping it look bright and a fun kind of layout. I'm just bringing in a few more florals here to fill in some gaps where I can and just extend that embellishing a little bit further and getting them stuck in place on the back. I don't want to stick anything down to my background yet because I haven't decided what I'm doing with those strips, and I know I want to add a little bit of mixed media in a minute using the stencil that we get in the collection. So trying to stick everything together without sticking anything to my background. And I finally found a way that my title will work on this layout. So I'm going to have the word so over to the left and fun over on the right, kind of staggered so they're not in one line. It makes the layout look a little less blocky that way. And I've decided I'm going to go for the fishtail banners on the left as well. Now, I don't bother cutting those middle ones because I know that word so is going to cover those up. So if I can save energy and effort, I do. I'm quite lazy like that. Don't like to waste time and effort. So the ones that will be covered up, I'm not going to worry about cutting. And then it's just a case of getting things all in place so that I can add that mixed media and see where it's going to sit. Now I keep a little pot of talcum powder or baby powder on my desk so that when I'm doing things like this, anything like these foam stickers that are sticky and I don't want them to stick to my background yet, I just rub a little bit of talcum powder over the back of them and it takes away the sticky and it enables me to then move things around on the page. As you can see, I can now slot my stencil in underneath without that sticker sticking to it. So a little trick there, pick out some talcum powder and keep that on your desk. It's really helpful. So once I'm finally happy that everything is where it's going to sit, I'm going to come in with the stencil that we get. And in the main kit this month, we get a Vicky Boutin stencil, and it's a lovely wavy pattern, perfect for this kit. And I've pulled in a Distress Oxide, and the shade is Mermaid Lagoon, and it works really lovely with those sort of turquoisey tealy colours in this collection. So I initially started adding just top and bottom around my floral clusters, but I couldn't stop there and end up adding the pattern all the way around, so it peeks out a little bit around everything. I couldn't resist. I quite often get like that with stenciling. I like things to be symmetrical where possible and sort of have a pattern to it, so I quite often find myself adding more and more with stenciling because I just can't stop. Must try and stop myself, but I love how this looks with the stenciling all the way around, so I'm glad that I did that. And then those little fishtail banners there, I want those raised up a little bit to bring in some dimension. I love to have lots of layering and dimension on my layouts, so I get through a lot of foam. So I've got some foam behind my photos to raise those up from everything else and sort of keep them the focal point. And then those banner edges I'm raising up too, and that casts a little bit of a shadow effect, and it just stops the layout looking quite so flat, brings in some lovely shadowing. And I think I'm almost done here, just having one quick look through what we get in the collection to see if there's anything more I want to add. I'm almost feeling like that right hand side is looking a bit bare, so I try out a few different things to see how they look, and then I pull out these cut apart word flags and cut a few of those off that match the colours of the strips of pattern paper I've got. And I love the one at the top there, it says catch a wave, and I thought that was perfect. It was just what my little boy was doing, and I really wanted to get that one on this layout, but I just couldn't find a way where I thought it looked right. And I add these stickers in, these banners in, and I just felt like it was looking a bit blocky having done this with the fishtail on top of the fishtail, and I didn't have one to go with every colour of the pattern paper. And then because I had those two little banners on the photos themselves, I just kept looking at it and I wasn't sure, and I thought, if I'm not sure, it's obviously not adding anything to the layout, so stop and don't add any more. I find if it's not adding anything, it's not bringing anything or making me go wow, then in my mind I don't need it. So I did take those back off, which is great because it means I've got them for another layout. And instead I'm just going to bring in some white splatters, and that will add a little bit of something to those coloured banners without overcrowding them. And there's lots of white in my photos where I've got the like the foam from the sea and the whiteness on the waves coming in. So white finishes out really nicely. You can't see it on everything, but it just breaks up those colours a little bit and adds a little something to those. And I was having lots of trouble with my gesso. I haven't used it for a while, we've been away, and it got clogged up and I was really struggling to get it out. So you'll see me having a bit of a battle here. But I do prefer using white gesso for my splatters as opposed to white acrylic paint or anything. I find that with paint it soaks into the pattern papers, and then you lose the colour of it. It takes on the colour that's underneath. They almost go a bit translucent, whereas gesso acts as a barrier, so it sits on top of those patterns and it doesn't really soak in. So I do prefer to use my gesso. So I've added my splatters and that's finally me done. So thank you very much for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed this layout and it gives you some inspiration. Like I said, this was the September main kit from mycreativescrapbook.com. There are 3 other kits as well that are released each month, so do check out their website. I'll leave a link in the description box below. If this kit doesn't suit you, there are 3 more to choose from. There is something for everybody, and the kits are amazing and so generous, so do head over and check those out. Like I said, the link will be below for you. But thanks very much for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed this, and I'll see you next time.